one. Okay, let's continue with David.
Okay, I saw Todd Stephenson has one and Cheryl has one.
Great, thank you, Minister. Just actually, you mentioned your letter of expectation and the fact there was a bit of an emphasis there on greater stakeholder and actually in patient voice, and you just talked about the hormone replacement issue. But again, what is your expectation around actually how particularly patient voice and stakeholders should be involved in the PHARMAC process?
Well, I mean, I know this probably sounds like a bit of an evasion, but it is actually a balance. Ultimately, PHARMAC is there to take an amount of money that is going to be limited. We're trying to change that too, but for now it's limited, and they need to get the maximum possible value for eligible persons in New Zealand. However, I just say to them that while they ultimately have to make the decision, and they have to make the decision informed by good economics and good pharmacology, there's also a role for checking in at different points in the process with the people who are ultimately affected and that we're ultimately doing it for, which is the patients. So I would have hoped that there'd be more consultation with patient groups, with clinicians along the way, and then when something like this happens, the patients may not always be happy with the decision, but you wouldn't get the kind of shock and outrage that we've experienced in the last week. You'd say, yep, we discussed this and we ultimately think that this was the best decision under the circumstances. I don't think there was enough discussion in this case. I'll give you another example around the continuous glucose monitors. In that instance, and this is a more recent process, PHARMAC made a proposal. They went back to a group of patients. A lot of patients said, well, actually, these pumps may seem functionally similar, but actually we believe are different, and therefore we're going to make a difference. And they did change the ultimate decision based on patient feedback. So I would say that what happened with the CGMs is about right. It's still not perfect, and it's not going to make everybody happy, but it is a lot more cognizant of what people wanted, and people's voice did actually influence the outcome. I think to date, when it comes to the HRT question, we haven't had quite that level of consultation on the patches.
So just a quick supplementary. So that's, great about the patient. I also, you touched on it, it's also in your letter. I think this idea of PHARMAC partnering with stakeholders more, so obviously patient community is one. Do you see other, I suppose, parts of the health system that they should be partnering more with and trying to kind of get alongside rather than use the word being adversarial, which might have been their tendency before?
Yeah, and I think you've seen that with the Medicine Summit. There's patients, but there's also clinicians, there's also vendors. And let's make no mistake, I mean, PHARMAC is there for the patient and also for the taxpayer to get the best possible deal out of the vendors. But sometimes you can get to a better deal if you're prepared to sit down and make a deal. And I think, being prepared to be more collaborative may have some upside.
Thank you. Okay, we've got